Hey guys, what is up? It's Dusty here, and welcome back to another crypto video. I just saw this article pop up and it reads, XRP is South Korea's most popular crypto, but XRP price stays pressured. Well, it's really interesting, right? If you start to really think properly about what's happening to the XRP price, especially if you also consider the fact that they just got another lawsuit slapped on top of them, like we covered in the previous video. But there's a lot of positive sides, for example, that Ripple is growing like crazy, and for example, that XRP has a lot of volume still over in Korea, for example, which has already proven themselves to be pivotal for cryptocurrency and cryptocurrency advancements. If you even look at how much XRP actually is in the greater picture of things, it's actually a huge amount. It's almost as much as Bitcoin, really, which to me is quite crazy. But this is all aside. This is all side notes. The fact that, the volume in Europe and everywhere except for the US is still going on is all side. One article I think you guys are going to be amazed by is, I believe an article from 3 years ago was just resurfaced, or is just a new article with a different title or with a different tag or something like that. But let's read. Netherlands Central Bank recognizes Ripple and XRP as excellent real-time payment infrastructure. So I'm not too sure if he just made an account on this platform 3 years ago and has just gotten views over time, or if this article was really actually written in 2017. I'm assuming it is, though. It could be that all these dates are not working properly, but I'm assuming that this one stems from 2017. Also, looking at all the pivots or points that they put up in here. And a couple of really interesting points are, for example, what Ripple's outlook is for things. It's really just interesting to take a good look at this and see how far they've actually gotten in these 3 years and what they promised and what they really did. It's crazy. But the most important part about all of this in the whole article was this little part right here. You guys know I'm reporting right now from the Netherlands, so seeing an article about the Nederlandse Bank, that does something to you because it's really close to home, right? It really gets you excited to see what else they've said. On a different note, the Nederlandse Bank, even though they're normally quite positive on crypto, they actually have a couple of very big issues going on right now. I do even believe somebody or some company is suing them for something related to crypto, but that is all aside for right now. Let's just see what they said a little bit ago. The Netherlands Central Bank, called the Nederlandse Bank, DNB, touted Ripple blockchain technology as a fast process that takes place every 2 to 5 seconds, affirming that Ripple is a good deal faster than Bitcoin and requires less computing capacity. Now, I find it really interesting how even in 2017, there was still quite a lot of misconception about what part is now Ripple and what part is now XRP. The same thing for this article, though. I sometimes do not know if they just want to use Ripple for the title or if they really do not know the difference. Again, my friends that are invested in XRP, even some of them do not know, yet I would think that if you're writing an article about a crypto, that you would know there's a big difference between Ripple and XRP, right? So why do that? And then on a different end here, you can see they're talking about it a couple of times. In this article here, I'm also sometimes thinking maybe that is why the SEC has a little bit of a point as to why XRP can be deemed a security for the past. However, I still firmly believe that as of this point, XRP is no longer a security, if it even was ever, and thus it will not hold up. But the confusion also stems, I guess, from their practices from before, and the fact that they were called ripples and whatnot. But let's see. The Nederlandse Bank touted Ripple blockchain technology as a fast process taking place every 2 to 5 seconds, with, again, being better than Bitcoin with less computing capacity. Quote, banks are showing an increasing interest in the Ripple protocol. Integration of the payment protocol would allow banks to offer their customers the ability to transfer any amount of money in erring currency to other institutions that use the protocol without the need for intermediaries. And that would lead to cost savings for banks. And at present, 1 German and 2 American banks are using Ripple network, while several other banks are actually experimenting with it. Quote, the interest from the banking sector in particular in using the Ripple network means its use could grow rapidly in the near future. It is therefore important to monitor this development closely and to be involved in any steps that banks may take. Have you guys seen that just now? Don't you also think this really sounds quite interesting if you read it like that? At least to me, it really does, guys. It really does. If you see something like this come from the Nederlandse Bank, or at least one of their members over there, damn, that does make you quite just makes you think about the progress, basically, and the fact that a lot of these guys have already seen it a couple years ago, and sometimes I seem to also forget that there's quite a lot of people, and I'm going to call it big companies then, like Google Ventures, for example, who have invested in Ripple. Even though they invest in quite a lot of stuff, they don't just put money into every stupid project like that. It goes for the vision, and I'm assuming that they also check out whether or not it is a security. Like, for example, we saw with the Tetragon lawsuit right now, they already had it declared on paper that, again, they would buy back their shares from Tetragon if XRP were to be deemed a security, meaning it was already brought up and this thought has gone and crossed their mind. However, again, if there's such a big issue for it and you're afraid of it, even them just buying it back is not really a good option in my opinion. But also on a different end, Ripple accepted that option or even came with the option, meaning they were quite convinced that that was not going to happen because, well, you most likely don't want to go for such an option, right? If you really think it's going to be called a security. But two other interesting points are, for example, what they did over with all the I'm going to say the Arab countries, but also over in Asia and what they were promising. It's basically delivering on everything that they said. For example, right now they got a head office in the UAE. Pretty damn crazy. Here they were just testing everything and now they're already so built up like there. It's so crazy. But a little bit more important is if you go down here, Dilip Rao, the global head of infrastructure innovation at Ripple, says the agreement is going to impact the cryptocurrency and will at the same time save Saudi a exorbitant cost of transaction. And look at this. Central banks around the world are leaning into blockchain tech. Again, this is 2017, right? In recognition of how it can transform cross-border payments, resulting in low barriers to trade and commerce for both corporates and consumers, said Rao. SAMA, which is the Saudi Arabian Monetary Authority, is leading the charge as the first central bank to provide resources to domestic banks that want to enable instant payment using Ripple, innovative blockchain solution. That's already crazy on its own. Again, they knew about this whole central bank digital currency type of situation years ago. Like a lot of other parties knew it, but they were also prepared for it. And now they've just elaborated on those statements, which I definitely think is interesting. But if you look a little bit further, Ripple plans to enter China. The CEO of Ripple has revealed there is no going back on coasting China. Despite the fact that China has a stiff policy for blockchain, the country has signaled interest in paying attention to blockchain tech. In a separate development, the Chinese government has revealed that it would be testing blockchain technology this year to the possible opportunities in the area. Now, I'm not going to say that Ripple has a partnership of that degree over in China, for example, building a CBDC there, but it could be that Ripple has also added to this whole process of really pursuing or pushing these whole tests forward because they know such a lot about it. You shouldn't forget that Ripple at this point was also I'm going to assume a billion-dollar company, maybe a multi-billion-dollar company. So you saying, oh, what can they do with the government is not a valid opinion or option or something like that. They are a multi-billion-dollar corporation, and they have been for a little while right now. So they definitely have a little bit to say, and they can definitely go around the world and give an advice, for example, for a nice little fee or something like that. Because, again, they're looked up towards. Even the Nederlandse Bank has looked at them and said, yeah, this technology that they got, that sounds pretty damn huge. That sounds pretty damn useful. We're going to have to take a good look at that, and Ripple's going to have to monitor everything. Now, it's not like everything that they've said has come true, because they're also saying here that they've said a couple of things. For example, Brett House said that they're going to be having a huge amount of companies soon, and 2019 was going to be their year, I believe. Again, it wasn't completely true, everything like that, but in the end, it's about the bigger picture, right? And in China here, I'm just assuming that they at least got some partnership talks out of the way back then that we do not know about today. But again, you should also consider that right now we're only 3 years or so further than this point. Sometimes it takes 5 to 10 years for things like this to uncover, as well. China has been working on it for like 4 years then, right? If they were thinking about it in 2017, they most likely already started back then. It most likely means that they already thought about it for, let's say, 5 years for getting into CBDCs. And right now, they're still not anywhere near done. Then, showtime for XRP. BIS, Bank of International, right? Settlements executive calls cross-border payments a top priority. It's not actually the only person to do this, right? There's actually been almost any single party out there. I'm going to say it's Christine Lagarde too, and even I believe Trump has said it before, that cross-border payments are very important, and distributed ledger technology is also going to be extremely, extremely important. XRP could be on the brink of mainstream adoption as Benoit Couret, appointed chief of the Bank of International Settlements, lists cross-border payment solutions as a top urgent priority in the current financial world. Quote, it's about having a technology that cuts across borders. Everyone agrees, cross-border payments right now are too slow and too costly. The top priority for the community is not CBDCs. The top urgent priority is to improve cross-border payments, in particular for low-income and developing economies. Yeah, honestly, this is just huge. This is just really hitting the nail on the freaking head. Talking about the fact that CBDCs are nice for the banks, but CBDCs are not nice for us. You think you need a CBDC? You're mistaken, my guy, my buddy. Because it's all going to be trust in the government still. You cannot say it's trust in the blockchain if they were to build something like that. Because first of all, I'm thinking it's going to be private. But again, that's just for right now. I'm not really aware of exactly what their plan is going to be on how they're going to build it. I'm mostly thinking, though, the whole chain or the whole CBDC is going to mostly be built to make it easier for them, to possibly cut costs around the world or get people their money a little bit faster. But still, it's debatable whether or not that's really the truth and why they would be doing something like this. I don't personally think that's the way it goes. But it's, for example, with the stimulus checks, what they propose is basically that since it's really legal tender, it's really legal fiat money, you don't have to wait for cash to come through your mailbox, or you don't have to wait for it to be deposited to your account. And that's where the caveat comes, right? For example, a stimulus check like that, if it's being sent through the mail, then yeah, a CBDC would help because it would be online. But if it's being transferred to your account, for example, then what's the difference, right? What's the difference between a CBDC like that and a wire to your account, basically, except for the cost from I guess, the bank, right, doing it, because that would be a little bit costly, and with the CBDC possibly less costly, and possibly a little bit faster, okay? But since we're talking US dollars anyway, it's not talking about cross borders, and since we're talking about this coming up from the higher ups, you should also think that there doesn't really have to be much cost involved because it could all be subsidized, which again will come back to you, but CBDC projects are not cheap either. So in the end, it's going to be taking more money to do that rather than just send everybody their money, for example. So in the end, why do you really need it? Well, only if you want to replace cash, basically. But cash, of course, is the only money that they really can't monitor, right? Cash and maybe gold, for example, stuff like that. Things you really have in your hand, they cannot monitor anything along those lines. If you throw away $20, they'll never know. If you get $20, nobody will ever know. And so getting everything digital and everything online is going to be so profitable for money laundering, so profitable along those lines. It's going to bring with it a lot of scams too, yes, like crypto did. But again, that's something for the future because I just basically see it as another bank account, but then a little bit of a faster and cheaper one. Former Goldman Sachs CEO says, if I were a regulator, I'd be hyperventilating at the success of Bitcoin. It just made me think for a little second about what would happen if all these regulators were to sit still for a second and think about the consequences of this Ripple lawsuit. Just think for a little second what type of domino effect this would bring with, and what would happen to other cryptos that they've already, quote unquote, regulated like Bitcoin and Ethereum. This CEO, the ex-Goldman Sachs CEO, said, if I were a regulator, I would be kind of hyperventilating at the success of it at the moment, and I'd be arming myself to deal with it, which you could kind of debate because you can, from one perspective, say they've already regulated it. On the contrary, there's no ETF just quite yet, so they haven't done a job at all. Just depends on how you want to look at it. I just really like to think about how this affects Ripple in the sense that they're not really thinking just quite straight, because otherwise they would have sat down and thought, hey, this lawsuit is going to be incurring billions and billions and billions of losses to innocent investors. Why go about this for $1 billion? I don't really get it. But again, that's their opinion. And Ethereum whales make a big splash, transfer 100,000 ETH in 24 hours. Whales are going strong. That's all I can say. Whales are going strong for all these crypto projects. And even though there are quite some outflows in the crypto space right now, there's still a huge amount of people holding, guys. Don't get it mixed up. Don't mistake it right now. Right? It might look negative, but there's a ton of people still holding it right now who are not planning to sell it anytime soon. And I'm still positive on crypto regardless of what happens. We've been here for 4 years now, just YouTubing every single day almost. I'm not going away anytime soon. And guys, check out GSX. A link is down below. Some of you guys like it, some of you guys don't. Hey, I personally put a couple $1,000s in, so I thought, why not share it? It's basically the first gold-backed coin. It's a growth coin because the assets that they have will keep increasing, but since the supply will stay the same, the value of the coin should keep increasing as well. Right now, it's 10 cents a piece with 19% plus a 5% bonus, so that's again 24% bonus. And yeah, there's some other bonuses for buying a huge amount. The roadmap is pretty cool if you start to think about it. I'm just hoping it gets on exchanges and gets a huge premium, which it could. And I'm just preparing for that personally. But hey, let me know what you think about it right down in the comment section down below. And that was it for today's video. Hopefully you all enjoyed it. And have a nice day, everybody.